Hello, everybody. This is Neil Allen, the comic creator behind the series Zatswan Multiversal Guardian, which you can read on my website, zatswan.com. And recently, the YouTuber Sean James was talking about me in his comment section. I didn't get to this sooner because I became a little bit ill, and I was just dealing with that for a little bit. But he commented about me, um, and the quote is, "Dealt with him in a live stream 2 weeks ago. He's a divester with a white girlfriend who has an issue with me talking about black empowerment." So there are some interesting things here to talk about. I guess we should dive right into it. First, it's interesting that he mentions my girlfriend. Like, of what? I'm not offended by that. I'm just wondering, like, what the relevance is. He's a divester with a white girlfriend. That sounds like it's I don't think I'm jumping to a conclusion to feel that that was said with a negative connotation. Is there a problem with me having a white girlfriend? And if so, what is that problem? Is what I would ask Sean James. Or is he just a racist? Which, in my opinion, it definitely sounds like it, but that's not surprising or anything new to me. He also says I'm a divester, which is interesting. Usually, from my understanding, that's a term that's usually applied to black women who want to distance themselves from the black community in some way, or maybe I don't know. I think it has something to do with that. So he's applying that to me. Well, the interesting thing is I was never terribly invested to begin with. I think this is a pretty good video to make because Sean James clearly doesn't understand some mixed people that well. Like, of course, I don't want to talk for everybody, but I do know I do talk, I can speak for some people and certainly myself. So again, for educational purposes, I'll use his vernacular, school Sean James again. First of all, we have to like take into consideration who Sean James is. He's this 50-year-old Gen Xer. One thing I think Sean James doesn't completely understand is that not everybody is him, has his point of view, or has his experiences. And the people who don't, if they do have diverging experiences or points of view, those points of view aren't wrong, they're just different. So, one thing I think he doesn't completely understand is that times change and people move on from things. He's, of course, closer to the one drop rule. Being from that time, he's closer to that period than I am. So he has some views that I think can maybe be considered outdated, that should be brought up here. So I'm a divester with a white girlfriend. Okay, so first of all, I want to point out that a black person and a person mixed with black aren't necessarily the same thing. A mixed person and a black person are they are likely to have at least experiences that are unique to their own background. This type of thing goes without saying. So I can bring some things out specifically to make that point. So one thing I would ask Sean James, are people ever going around asking you what you are, or in some fashion trying to find out what you are? I highly, highly doubt it. They could usually tell that at a glance. Do people do that with me? Yes, they do, actually. That's like an experience that a mixed person who is ambiguous may very, very well have. Another thing I would like to ask you, Sean, do people go around trying to disregard your identity or not respect your identity and then try to enforce upon you what they think you're supposed to be? Not likely. Does that happen to me? Well, you're doing it to me right now, actually. So Yes, that's like the type of experience that a mixed person may very well have. So, about the identity issue, I will say that mixed people identify different ways. A lot of that depends on them, how they feel, their experiences, their environment, their upbringing, and so on and so forth. Um, Now, certain people like Sean James I get the feeling that they take offense somehow if a mixed person doesn't identify the way they want them to identify. And that's not necessarily anything to take personally or take offense to. Just because a mixed person may identify the way they do does not say what they think about whatever other community there is. It doesn't say. So, because, I mean, just cutting to the chase, one of the things they'll hit you with, someone like Sean James would like hit a person like me with, is, oh, self-hatred and stuff like that. Well, first of all, I don't hate myself, not at all, and I don't really hate any particular ethnic background. It's just, I accept myself. I have no problem accepting myself for what I actually really am and all the facets of that. Um, just because like I have an aspect of one thing doesn't mean that one thing is going to override everything else. That's not how it works. So I think what Sean James would feel more comfortable with is if I'm going around, with my fist in the air talking about black power and all this and all that. And that's just not where, my experiences and, my background have led me. I don't have any problem with any aspect of myself. And in not having any problem with that, any aspect of myself, no one facet overrides all the others for me, and I just become that one thing. I think some people like Sean James would just want me to be that one thing to make him feel more secure or to make him feel better. And again, I want to reiterate that doesn't say anything about me like being ashamed of, say, black or anything like that. That's certainly not the case. Um, but I think one thing that we would want to investigate is the reasons why, and what he's essentially trying to do. He's trying to claim me, it seems. We need to investigate the reasons why he may want to do that, and I'm pretty sure why he would. I think there are two big ones. He wants to feel as if he has authority over me, so that he can so he can feel he has a right to tell me what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to act. Oh, and again, I'm a divester with a white girlfriend who I'm supposed to be romantically involved with, even. Um, See, he's not going to go to, say, an Arab, or he's not going to have that same inclination towards an Arab or, say, an East Asian person. But me, he feels he wants to be able to enforce these rules upon me because, again, Sean James is a spellbound person. And if I don't go along with what he wants me to do, then, he'll come in with shaming language like divester, and then apparently a divester with a white girlfriend. Though that's like shaming language, like, oh no, I'm supposed to feel bad about that. But you know what? It's like I don't play by those rules, so that doesn't really make me feel bad. Like, you're not gonna shame me really with any of this. I think it's interesting to talk about. But I mean, these types of tactics aren't going to work on me. I think they would work on him. He's the type of person who talks about not wanting to sell out. Like, I'm really not thinking about that, because I don't feel I owe anything to anybody, really. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel I have to keep up some kind of appearance, or or I'll put it in his terms, that I've never signed a covert contract with any community. I think what he's done is he's the one who signed a covert contract here, and when it's not being, I'm not honoring that apparently, and he's feeling a way about it. So he wants to see if I'm under that black umbrella. If you know, he wants to pull me, or under his black umbrella, I should say, then oh no, then I would feel a way, or I'm supposed to feel a way about being out of line. Oh no, I can't have a white girlfriend. I'm gonna be selling out. You know what I mean? Or no, I don't. I'm not. I'll, I'm going to use a term, Sean James. It seems like something Sean James would be into, so he could probably relate. Homie, don't play that. I'm not, I don't play by those rules. I'm not under that umbrella. You're dealing with a whole different thing here. Okay, so that's one reason he would want to claim me so he can, you know, feel like he can tell someone like me what to do. Oh, and another thing too, like he would want to keep someone like me around to be a punching bag whenever. That's how these types of people work. To be a punching bag whenever they feel like berating you or demeaning you or something like that, telling you how. Let me think. Telling you how or commiserating about you or something like that. Just to be a punching bag. Um, that's one reason. Another reason is so he can feel like he's not. So he can feel like he's not selling out when he's lusting after mixed race women. See, the covert contracts he signed are interesting to talk about. Like he feels betrayed by Halle Berry or Tia and or Tamara when they have white partners, like white romantic partners. He obviously, if you watch his commentary, feels betrayed about that. But the thing is, so essentially he's trying to mate guard mixed race women. When I mean, good grief, they got white parents, man. Um, okay, this is so bizarre. He's actually trying to, in a weird way, mate guard me. I'm a divester with a white girlfriend. That's obviously said in a negative connotation, like there's something bad about that. I'm a mixed race person. You got no real claim on us. You never really did. That whole idea of thinking is that should be drawn into question in itself, but it's doubly weird when you're trying to do that with mixed people. But one of the things that Sean James needs to realize too, and I think is something he struggles with, is people aren't put in this world to make him feel comfortable. If he's not secure with mixed people, um, not going a certain way he would want them to go, then that's just too bad. I mean, we're not put here to make you feel good or to make you feel comfortable. That's a you thing that you have to deal with. That doesn't have to do with us. Um, but anyway, there are a lot of really, really interesting layers to this. So another thing I want to point out too is going back to the issue of cognitive dissonance with Sean James. He wants to pull me under this umbrella to act as though or feel as though he has control over me. But the thing is that I would only be black, just straight up black. I would only be black when it would suit him. Now let me explain this to you. Um, when it would suit him is when he feels he could control me or use me as a punching bag. When would it not suit a Sean James or a Sean James type of person to have a person like me under that umbrella? I will give you a actual direct example of when it wouldn't. It would be when black women would pass up him for a biracial or mixed race man. Then he would have a problem with them being up in his space. Because I've actually seen it. Then he would be complaining about how they're spellbound by their crystal blue eyes and that creamy light skin and that silky loose straight hair. Then he would be complaining about, mixed people being up in his space. that's when it wouldn't suit them, and they wouldn't just be black anymore. He would create some delineation and they would be something else. And then that's when he gets to use them as a punching bag because he's up in his feelings, feeling a certain way. So I just want to bring out the oh, and again, are these experiences that a Sean James would have? No, not really. Are these experiences that a mixed race person could have, maybe even likely to have in some fashion? Yes, actually, yes. When some people are feeling insecure about something, they'll turn on that mixed race person and take out their grievances on them. I'm definitely not saying that this is something that anybody of like all people of any ethnic group do, but I mean, I would be lying if I said that this wasn't actually a thing. Are these experiences that just a Sean James would have? No. Are they experiences that a mixed person would have? Yes. Are those two things the same thing? No. Why aren't they the same thing? All kinds of reasons, going from genetics to background to upbringing to experiences. To the way to the way they're perceived, to the way that they're treated in all kinds of different arenas, for better or worse. I'm not always saying it's always better. I'm not always saying it's always worse, but it can be depending on the situation. And it can certainly just be different. And that's the main thing to point out, different. So again, this is I think it's interesting to talk about because obviously a person like Sean James doesn't really understand like my perspective. And he's gonna hear my perspective most likely, or he already has. He's not going to respect that perspective. And again, there's nothing I can do with that. That's a him thing. And that's part of what makes him kind of the generally unlikable individual he is. Not willing to just respect somebody's, background, somebody's experiences. No, he seems to have this singular view where only his background and only his experiences are valid. And of course, again, one thing I want to point out is that I don't speak for all mixed people. And I'm definitely not telling them how they should or shouldn't identify. That's really their business and that's up to them. And you see, that's like how a secure person handles that. They don't try to enforce that on other people. They don't try to enforce upon people how they think they should be acting. Because that's none of their business, and they have no problems respecting people where they should be respected. Sean James clearly has issues with that, and that's basically, like I said, what makes him a rather unsavory person, in my opinion. I mean, he's an interesting case study. There is quite a bit to say about him. This is just, addressing this comment he made about me about being a divester with a white girlfriend who has an issue with me talking about black empowerment. I didn't even touch on that black empowerment part. I don't have an issue with that per se, but I don't feel black empowerment is what Sean James really advocates or talks about. I'm already getting pretty deep into this video, approaching the 20-minute mark, so I might cut this off here and save this perhaps for another video. But Sean James doesn't really, advocate black empowerment. He advocates victimology. He advocates being a victim underneath the thumb of white supremacy, and there's essentially no real way out of that. And, any bad thing that ever happens to him, it's just all the fault of or of white supremacy. He doesn't advocate for black empowerment. He doesn't advocate for personal accountability. That's actually one of the things that will cause upward momentum for people either as a community or as individuals is, personal accountability and doing what they personally can to better themselves or, meet whatever goals they want to meet. Not sitting around whining and complaining about stuff. That's essentially what Sean James does. Like somebody needs to call the wambulance for him because all he does is whine and complain about white supremacy instead of taking accountability for himself and for his own actions. And no, this isn't me like saying that, white supremacy has never been a thing. Yes, I do know history, and unfortunately some, very horrendous things have happened, but that does, just because some things have happened does not mean they're a universal constant that's happening all the time in every possible situation in a person's life. Just because maybe a town that was prospering decently economically got steamrolled by white people doesn't mean that white supremacy is the reason why Sean James got fired 3 times in a row and hasn't found a job in 15 years. No, I'm more inclined to believe that rests with Sean James as an individual, especially from my, you can somewhat call this dealings with the individual. Like, if you're fired 3 times in a row, and I know you have a difficult, stubborn, closed-minded personality, then I'm I'm inclined to believe the issue is probably with you. More than likely, because that's not common to be like canned 3 times in a row. That's not common. And like I was saying in the comment once, I can be sympathetic, but I don't know. I can be sympathetic to the right people in the right circumstances. Sean James I've seen enough of him. I know he's the type of person who brings stuff like that on himself. The passport thing, perfectly good example. This dude felt that he, again, had the right to tell people exactly what they needed to do, who they needed to be with romantically, and he, you know, he felt like he could just dogmatically push that on people. He's the type of person who felt that he, had the right to do that. He suffered the consequences for that. Like his Patreon got destroyed. Well, you go around acting weird and like an idiot like that, eventually you're going to suffer the consequences for that. You're going to get fired, you're going to get ostracized, you're going to get your Patreon ruined, or whatever the consequence may be. But this is the type of dude who likes to cry about, oh, I can't believe this happened to me and the injustice of it all without taking any kind of accountability for himself. But this is a whole other topic that I can get into about this character. For now, I'm going to cut it off right here. I hope this was helpful and educational for people. And if you like the content, be sure to subscribe, look out for more, and hit the like button. All right, take care and be sure to stop by and read my comic at Zatswan.com. See you soon.